What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Recher Reacts. I am your host, Jay Recher. Appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. It's a late one. We're starting at 11:53 Eastern because there's no better place for your late night sports chat than right here with me, right here on Recher Reacts. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. I'm talking Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, X, all of it, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you go over there and check me out. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for supporting and all the love. Um, yeah, and also make sure you like and subscribe here on YouTube as you're watching us here. Every subscription counts. Trying to get it up to over 100. Whatever you guys can do to help would very much help out. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. The best way to communicate is probably on Facebook and YouTube. So head on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and share it with your friends too. Trying to be very interactive here on the late night. I know there's not many things live at this time of night. People are kind of winding down from a busy day, but that doesn't mean that there is no sports to talk about. And I cannot wait until noon every day on Jay and Zach to get my point across and to talk about some of the biggest stories in sports. We're actually on at 3 o'clock tomorrow, filling in for Tom Krasnicki on the drive. Rondé Barber is going to join us on the show. It's going to be a fun one. Eric Neander, Ray's president of baseball operations. So a big show tomorrow on the drive with Jay and Zach filling in for T Kraz. But again, yeah, follow me on all social media platforms. Got a lot of things going on. It's a big 2024, and I can't wait to see what the future holds as well. All right, the things we're going to talk about today. No, we're not going to talk about the sit down interview with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the CNN interview with Dana Bash. Gotcha. Yeah, some people looking at the Twitter. Never really going to go too deep into politics, but did crack a little joke there. Who had the worst night, Kamala or Colorado? It happened to be Kamala Harris. So we're not going to talk about that today. Not at all. We're sticking to sports here tonight. We're going to talk about the two Colorados. What do I mean by that? I'll explain more here in a bit. Also, Brandon Aiyuk gets the bag. He's staying in San Francisco with the 49ers. We talked about this a little bit today on Jay and Zach. And the more and more I think about this deal, like I just keep like uncovering another question that really needs to be answered. So we'll get into that here in a little bit and why this is the last season for Dak Prescott with the Dallas Cowboys. Just listen to some of the things that have come out in the last couple of days with him and with Jerry Jones. You want to talk about it's almost like the classic stay together for the kids kind of thing. That's what it sounds like. And I think this is the end of Dak's time in Big D. As of course, as always, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on some of these things? We'll start with the Colorado game. Colorado opens the season with a 31-26 win over the North Dakota State Bison. You know, going against an FCS opponent, I think a lot of times you expect a big time blowout, but we know there is some talent in that North Dakota State program. So even though some people will look at this and say, oh, massive disappointment, Colorado should have blown them out. This means they're frauds. It means they're fakes. I don't necessarily vibe with that. This is still a young team that is trying to build and trying to get better. We knew that they came out of the gates hot last year and, you know, really struggled down the stretch. But North Dakota State, that's a tough matchup, even at home. Um, they play solid ball all the way around. You know that they're going to be a contender. They're a Final Four team usually in FCS. But if Deion Sanders in Colorado wants to be taken seriously, they got to win games like this and propel it forward. They got Nebraska coming up next week. That's not going to be an easy game at all because it seems like Matt Rule has really figured things out there with the Cornhuskers. Now, are they back to the Tom Osborne days? I don't think I'd go that far, but they're certainly a hell of a lot better than they were a couple of years ago when Mr. Frost was there. Everybody thought he was going to turn around the program after the phenomenal effort that the phenomenal job that he did over there at UCF. But I just want to talk about the two Colorados, okay? And I want everybody to prepare for this for the rest of the year and also for the future or prepare for this for as long as Deion Sanders is going to be the head coach at Colorado. What you're going to see in the beginning of the season is you're going to see hype, you're going to see hysteria, and you're going to see a lot of eyeballs on this Colorado program. That's what happens when you have prime time, when you have Deion Sanders as the head coach. It's just natural. Now, is it warranted? I mean, you don't find that out until later on in the season, but just watch the game tonight. it's not as much about the other players on the team. It's about Dion patrolling the sidelines. It's about Warren Sapp being on the sidelines. You saw Terrell Owens there as a guest. Hell, even during the commercial breaks, Dion is he's doing advertisements for California almonds. You have to strike while the iron's hot. If you are any of these TV companies that are covering these games, and I don't know for sure, but the majority of them are going to be probably on ESPN, ABC. But if you're ESPN, you got to strike while the iron's hot. While Colorado is still in the conversation, while they're still the hit team before, the other shoe drops, you have to make the most of these opportunities. I've got no issues with it. I mean, I tuned in today, and I know a lot of other people did too that weren't Colorado fans because you want to see, you're interested. I don't necessarily think that's a terrible thing. We want to be entertained. At the end of the day, all these people with these arguments about the sanctity of football and they don't do this right or they don't do this right. I mean, the majority of the people out there that watch sports, you watch it as an escape from reality. You watch it for entertainment. And you can't tell me that everything that's surrounded Colorado the last couple of years hasn't been freaking entertaining. It sure as hell has. And if you are ESPN, you are going to make sure that prime time is on prime time. And you're going to continue to do this until, if they do, they run into some issues and they lose some games like we saw last year. Early on in the season, everybody was on Colorado. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was tuned in to watch them play. What's wrong? I don't see anything wrong with that. It doesn't mean that they're going to be national championship contenders. It doesn't mean they're going to be Big 12 contenders. Okay, that's fine. They're still entertaining. And before they do pick up a loss or pick up a couple losses, I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it because the way that this team is being produced on the television side, the way it is being hyped up, not just on television but all social media, like it's something to behold. It is unlike anything we've ever seen in college football before. Because all you're doing is giving attention to a team because of the success of their head coach when he was a player. I mean, that happens. It really does. So because Dion is loud and speaks about it, he talks about himself in the third person. Um, a lot of attention is going to go Colorado's way. And I, for one, am not one of those people that are going to sit there and watch every game and then bitch and moan about it. No, I'm going to enjoy it. Just because you enjoy what's going on there with Dion and Colorado, uh, that doesn't mean you think they're going to be national champions. It doesn't mean you think he's perfect either. I've been on here talking about I don't really like the way that he handled the whole thing with the Denver Post columnist. I think there's better ways to handle things. But I'm not going to sit here and judge somebody because of one thing that they did and just completely write him off like, this guy's a piece of crap. Just that's lazy. It's lazy. Everything in life isn't so black and white. There's a lot of shades of gray. And people are very, very deep. If we wrote off every single person for the mistakes that they've made, like how boring would this life be? Again, I don't even know if Deion Sanders is a great coach or not. I don't know if Colorado's ever going to be a contender in the Big 12 or in the national championship race. But right now, there's a lot of focus and there's a lot of attention on this team, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it because you don't know what you're going to see. It's like a TV show. You just don't know. It's like WWE. You're here for the entertainment. Let's keep that in perspective. You don't necessarily have to think that they're contenders just because you enjoy the product, just because you enjoy the pomp and circumstance. And if you don't like it, hey, that's your right too. That's your opinion. If you think this is all too much, all right, fine, then don't watch it. Go watch something else. I want to see Deion Sanders out there. I want to see his emotions. I want to see who he's got patrolling the sidelines. I want to see how the TV broadcast is handling this and the commercials. Uh, yeah, give it all to me. I love the entertainment. But let's separate that. That's the one Colorado with the other Colorado. And the other Colorado is the product on the field. And let's not get it twisted. The two kids, excuse me, the two kids in the game tonight for Colorado are two of the best players in the country. And that's Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter. When you watch Shador Sanders, and I said this last year too, when you watch Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, they're not there and they are not put on a pedestal because of what because of Deion Sanders. I don't agree with that whatsoever. This isn't nepotism. When you watch Colorado, okay, there's the first side, right? There's the first Colorado. There's the pomp and the circumstance with Dion and, all the celebrities on the sidelines and guys like Warren Sapp and the coaching staff. Okay, that's fine. That's one Colorado. The other Colorado is that they have two of the best players in the country, bar none. It doesn't even matter what their names are. Shador Sanders is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. It doesn't matter that his dad is Dion. I know it does matter DNA wise, right? But you understand what I'm saying. He's not just in this position because he's Dion's son. That dude can play. I really thoroughly enjoy watching Shador Sanders play quarterback. He takes care of the football. He always keeps his eyes downfield. He's not at the first sign of pressure looking to roll out and take off for the hills. Like he is trying to legitimately play quarterback, a pocket passer. And I just love the way that this kid spins it. He is so damn fun to watch. And look at it again tonight. 26 for 34, 445 yards, of 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. The offensive line, much better than last year. Only 1 sack tonight. I mean, you're talking about one of the worst offensive lines in college football last year. And I thought Shador played outstanding. And he is worth the price of admission. And ironically enough, he's not even the best player on his team. Travis Hunter is a freak. And I'm not talking about a freak like, all right, he's LeBron, he's 6'9, 265. No, he's a freak because not only is he a fantastic defensive player, he's a tremendous offensive player too. Look at his stats tonight: 7 grabs, 132 yards, 3 touchdowns. That last touchdown, contact in traffic. I don't know how the hell he came down with that ball, but that kid's got a flair for the dramatic. And he just makes big play after big play after big play. He's not afraid to tackle in space. He's not afraid to go up there and make catches. He's not afraid to run across the middle and take contact. Like this dude's he's amazing. He is amazing. And I just saw somebody chatting with Luke Easterling just now on Twitter of does everything have to be hyperbole? No, it doesn't. But what you're seeing Travis Hunter do is stuff that you don't see anybody else do in college football. Travis Hunter is almost kind of like the Shohei Otani of college football. Everybody loses their mind for Shohei because he not only is one of the best hitters in the game, but he actually throws in the upper 90s and he's a phenomenal pitcher too. You see that in high school. You see that, in travel ball and little league. You don't see that in the big leagues. What Travis Hunter is doing now, you don't see that in college football. You may see it in high school. You sure as hell don't see it in the pros. So let's tip our hats to Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. They deserve all the credit in the world for being as good as they are. And let's make sure that we keep these two Colorados separate. The first Colorado, the Colorado that is focused on, growing the brand and the TV stations and the markets, and they're all focused on Dion, that's one side. But the other Colorado is legit. They have two big time players. And listen, I know it's just two guys, but and they need more, right? They need more guys to be able to contribute. It does hurt my heart to see Jimmy Horn, 7 catches for 198 yards and a touchdown. We saw glimpses of that at USF with Timmy McLean. It still hurts that Jimmy Horn. Could you imagine Jimmy Horn with USF and Byron Brown? Oh my God, that would have been nuts. Okay, and I know they need to run the football better, right? They only ran the ball for 59 yards today. I still think there's still work needs to be done in the trenches on both sides of the football. But you have two incredible athletes on the outside with Jimmy Horn Jr. and Travis Hunter. You have Shador as the guy that's controlling everything under center. They have some pieces. Again, it doesn't mean that they're national championship contenders, but the one side they're entertaining as hell, and on the other side they have two of maybe the best 10 players in college football. They are fun to watch, man, and I can't wait to see him next week against Nebraska. Matt Rule, Dylan Raiola, that young quarterback. People are comparing him to Patrick Mahomes. Woo! Cannot wait for that matchup. Big shout out to T Hall. Is it T Hall or Thaw? You never let me know what it is, but appreciate the undying support. It means more than you know. Make sure you follow me on every social media platform at Recher. Let's move on to the next topic, and that is Brandon Aiyuk getting the bag from San Francisco. After all of the back and forth, he agrees to a 4 year, $120 million contract extension that's going to keep him in San Francisco through the 2028 season. Now, there was so much back and forth with this and talks with teams like Cleveland and Pittsburgh and New England. And they were, San Francisco was not trying to move him, but you think about it, like they said, "Oh yeah, we wouldn't have moved them unless we got a wide receiver back." Yeah, I get that. I guess I get that. I guess I understand. But you're gonna have to pay a good. If you're gonna pay this guy $30 million, you're gonna have to pay another wide receiver. If you're gonna match that type of level, you're gonna pay that guy $30 million too. But the thing that really puzzles me about the Brandon Ayuk deal is when you look at his production, the first 2 years weren't too great out of Arizona State. Remember, he was a first round pick back in 2020. Got considerably better the last 2 years. 78 catches for 1,015 yards in 2022. And then last year, 75 catches for 1,342 yards and 7 touchdowns. Um, but here's the thing, just look at what Brandon Ayuk is making. He's going to be making $30 million a year. He's going to be making $30 million a year. That's more than Debo Samuel. That's more than Trent Williams. That's more than Fred Warner. That's more than Christian McCaffrey. That's more than George Kittle. He's going to be paid the same amount per year as Tyreek Hill. And you look at some of these other guys that have gotten over $100 million deals in the offseason: Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. All three of those guys that I've just mentioned, they are clearly the number one option in their offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just incredible hands, runs every route in the route tree. You target him 12 times, probably going to catch 11 of them. Justin Jefferson, for my money, the best wide receiver in all of football. And then CeeDee Lamb, who last year had a historic year for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you want to talk about getting the bag. 4 years, $136 million. Jefferson, obviously, 4 years and $140 million. But CeeDee Lamb in that historic year that he had for the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, no surprise that he got that money. Who the hell else are they going to pay? Oh, yeah, Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott. But CeeDee Lamb, clear number one option in Dallas. Justin Jefferson, clear number one option in Minnesota. Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown, clear number one option. When you look at Brandon Aiyuk, he's getting $30 million a year. I don't even know if he's the third best option on this team. Christian McCaffrey's number one. Debo Samuel's probably number two, because not only can you throw him the football, but you can put him in the backfield. He had 5 rushing touchdowns last year. And George Kittle, he's a phenomenal blocker, but he is also a huge threat in the passing game. One of the best tight ends in all of football. So, in essence, you're paying a guy that you could argue is the fourth option in your offense $30 million. That is a lot of cash. And oh yeah, Trent Williams wants more money. Brock Purdy, you're going to have to pay him eventually. I'm all for guys getting the bag. Good for Brandon Aiyuk. Listen, you won this battle, my friend. And John Lynch came out yesterday and he didn't seem too happy and he wanted Brandon Aiyuk. You could tell. You can tell it was wearing on him. It was wearing on the team. We're getting closer and closer to week 1. Brandon Aiyuk won this battle. He got paid. But if he even takes just a minor step back, you have to wonder, was that $30 million worth it? We'll see. We had a conversation on the show today about San Francisco, and this is when all signs pointed like it didn't look like Brandon Aiyuk was going to be with the San Francisco 49ers. You wonder what their window looks like, right? Because they've made it to the Super Bowl two of the last 4 or 5 seasons, and it's so hard to get there. And when you look at some of the guys on their team, they're not getting any younger, right? Trent Williams being one of them. Christian McCaffrey, running backs in this league, how long did they really last? Brandon Aiyuk, he stinks, so that's like you check that one off. They have a good defense, but those guys aren't getting any younger either. You have to wonder if you're a team like San Francisco, was that as close as you were going to get to a Super Bowl last year against the Kansas City Chiefs? We've seen things like that before. You could argue that Philly 2 years ago, had a better shot to win than San Francisco with the play of Jalen Hurts. He was phenomenal. And then look at the next year. They get smoked in the first round of the playoffs in Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers. Life comes at you fast. And again, I go back to they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. So if you're the San Francisco 49ers, was this a smart move? Brandon Aiyuk, $30 million a year extension. Where is he when it comes to priorities in this San Francisco offense? I'd love for you guys to tell me. I think we can all agree that Christian McCaffrey is number one. But when you compare him to everybody else in this offense, when you compare him to the other guys that got over $100 million extensions in the offseason, something doesn't add up. But what does add up is the dollar signs, and it adds up for Brandon Aiyuk. So good for you, buddy, because I am not hating on you. I'm just wondering if it's a smart move for San Fran. All right, last topic tonight on the show before we call it a night, and that is Dak Prescott in Dallas. No deadline for Cowboys Dak Prescott, and it's just pretty wild how this whole thing has gone, where he's put up some incredible numbers, but you don't really know, is Dak Prescott overrated or underrated? I don't think we can ever really tell because he's the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. He's in one of those positions where it is the most scrutinized position in his sport. Same thing if you're like the shortstop of the Yankees or you're the point guard for the Lakers, or like it happens, man. It happens. And you just listen to some of these comments from Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones, the owner. So here's what Jerry said. You could easily say if you haven't seen it by now, you haven't seen it. I'm such a fan of Dax and appreciate all the great things that we all know that is there. And I appreciate his work ethic more than anything out here. I can't tell you how proud I am that we've got him this year to start the campaign. And then when you look at Dak Prescott, he answers, that's the business and the nature of this game that we play. Yeah, I mean, I stopped honestly listening to things that he says to the media a long time ago. Doesn't really hold weight with me. Jerry Jones is the most out front owner in professional sports. He goes on radio shows, he speaks to the media frequently, and he does such a great job in his mind of controlling everything with the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody puts forth a greater effort to control the narrative of their team in professional sports than Jerry Jones. He's not shy about that. Not at all. But when your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, comes out and says, yeah, I don't really pay attention to what he says to the media. Yikes. That's such a, he said with all due respect, it's in the Geneva Convention. I mean, Dak's not wrong, and I don't think he's wrong for saying it, but it's just read between the lines here. Is that it's kind of like, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Ultimately, that's the guy signing your paychecks. And the crazy thing about it is I don't think anybody thinks Dak is in the wrong for saying that, because the Cowboys have been so back and forth and non-committal with Dak through his entire tenure with the team. And you even listen to Jerry when he says those things. Like, just listen to, I'm such a fan of Dax and appreciate all the great things that we all know that is there. He almost speaks of Dak like he's already gone. Like, that's the kind of things that you say about players after they spent a certain amount of time with you. Yeah, we appreciate, everything that he did here. He was a great Cowboy. He gave us everything he had. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. That's what that sounds like. But he's still the quarterback for the Cowboys this year. This thing is headed towards a divorce without a doubt in my mind. Jerry Jones is looking at the situation going, okay, it ran its course. It is not working. We need to move on to somebody else. You want to start fresh. You want to go in a different direction. You do not want to pay 50, $60 million to this guy. And if you're Dak Prescott, I do not blame you. You're a guy that's given everything you have to this Dallas Cowboys team. You've dealt with a bunch of scrutiny. You've taken the high road a bunch of times. You've kind of had to go into business for yourself at other times. But you look at last year, 4,500 plus yards, good for third in the league. Most touchdown passes with 36. He only threw 9 interceptions. And you look at all time, this guy's thrown for almost 30,000 yards, 202 touchdowns. I mean, he's just out there. I mean, this is the last year was the third year he threw over 4,000 yards for the Cowboys. I mean, what more could you ask for? It's a fourth round pick back in 2016. And I know some people out there, and it's probably because he's the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, but they're just going to hate on Dak Prescott. Oh, he's not as good as we think he is, and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, yeah, okay. All right, that's fine. I think he's better than what a lot of other people say. And I truly believe if Dak Prescott went to another place where he had some more consistency when it comes to the foundation of the team, I think he could be even more successful. You can't just do the things that he does by accident, right? He makes some big time throws. They've won some games. Yeah, they've had their struggles in the playoffs. And yes, this is in a weird, bizarre way me defending one of the teams that I despise the most. He's had an incredible offensive line, incredible running game, but that takes talent to be able to quote unquote manage the game and to make those big throws. Like CeeDee Lamb can't throw the ball to himself. And look at the numbers he put up last year. I just find it weird that Dallas, and it obviously starts with Jerry, that this has been kind of their mode of operation this entire time with Dak. It's almost like you're always kind of looking towards the next guy and begrudgingly paying these guys. That's just not the way you do business. Look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look at what they did in the offseason this year. You want to know why vibes are so good with the Bucks? You want to know why people look at this team and just with such admiration and adulation and go, "Wow, that's a well-run franchise." Look at how Jason Light operates with these players. He wants to bring these guys back. And it's almost like Dallas begrudgingly has Dak Prescott. You could even go back to the last conversation where San Francisco kind of begrudgingly pays Brandon Aiyuk. It's like the Bucks wanted to pay Tristan Wirfs that money. They wanted to pay Antoine Winfield Jr. They wanted to pay Mike Evans, but they just had to make sure that it was right for them. They tabled it in the offseason and then or tabled it during last year's regular season, came back to it this year. Mike got paid. Jason Light stepped in and said, "Hey, we got to get this done." They get it done. Levante David comes back. Baker Mayfield gets rewarded with a contract after his solid first season with the Buccaneers. That is the way it is done. Missteps are going to happen. You're going to sign the wrong guys. You're going to draft the wrong guys. You're going to trade for the wrong guys. That's fine. But the way you do business with these athletes, you almost create, I don't want to say illusion because it's not a deceptive kind of thing at all, but you almost create a reputation. There you go. You create a reputation around the league, and you create a reputation with your own players of, hey, everything is going to be on the up and up. If we want to keep you here, we're not just going to say it's not going to be lip service. We're going to do what we can. If they think you can move on and go get more playing time or more money elsewhere, so be it. Alex Capo was one of those guys. Jameis Winston was one of those guys. Sean Murphy Bunting was one of those guys. Mike Edwards was one of those guys. Jordan Whitehead was one of those guys. Just think about it. Devin White was one of those guys. It's the way it goes. And then you have Jordan Whitehead, where you looked at it, he went to greener pastures, literally and figuratively, and now he's back. Why did Jordan Whitehead come back? Because he knows how it's done here. Yeah, it's one thing to be on a successful team and to go back to the team you won a Super Bowl with. But I want you to listen to what Jason Light had to say about Jordan Whitehead. I screwed up. Should have never let him go. People like that. People understand that mistakes are going to be made. People are cool with that. But the fact that you can come back around and be like, hey, that's my bad. You should have never left here. Players know that. Players hear that. And they go, wow, Tampa Bay, I wouldn't mind going play for them. That'd be fun. All right, it's going to wrap it up for me. A solid 30 tonight. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. T Hall and the entire crew. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Like and subscribe. Please, everybody here on YouTube, the more subscribers, the better. And we want to keep these conversations going. Leave those comments below. I'm going to continue to clip these videos and put them out there and continue to try to grow my brand so we can continue to talk sports every night. Got a big show coming up tomorrow. We're filling in for Tom Krasnicki at 3 on the drive. We got Rondé Barber, Buccaneers Hall of Famer, at 3:30. Eric Nier, the president of baseball operations for the Rays, at 4:05. Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report at 4:30. We're gonna play Kicking It. We're gonna play no barbecue this week. Yeah, we're gonna play Kicking It. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And of course, don't forget our guy Aaron Jacobson starts our coverage on WDA at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And look forward to being back on with Recher Reacts tomorrow night after Friday Night SmackDown and any other games that are going on. And then Saturday night, that should be a fun one. USF and Bethune-Cookman live from Raymond James Stadium. I'll certainly be on live at night after that game. Cannot wait. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Everybody go have a nice sleep, and I'll see you tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow night right here on Retro Reacts. Pizza.